Outsourcing tends to have a bad reputation as being low quality. Partner Hero's value-based approach raises the bar for the outsourcing industry by investing in employee empowerment and career growth, paying above-market salaries, and maintaining a focus on quality and performance. They're more than a service provider. They're also a thought partner for the startups they serve. It's simple. Brands that care about quality customer experience choose Partner Hero. They offer flexible terms and the ability to scale quickly, perfect for startups, with quality assurance baked into every program and offices around the world. So Partner Hero can provide truly global coverage. Outsourcing has long been available mainly to big businesses, but Partner Hero is challenging business as usual by bringing the benefits of outsourcing to businesses of all sizes with short, flexible contracts and fast ramp-up times. 10 years ago, when we were launching the Action Catalyst, we could have used a few extra hands to help us scale quickly, even if it was just for a short while. You can bet that with their expertise, fast onboarding, and core focus on quality, Partner Hero would have had our attention. If you're ready to bring in outside customer support help for your startup that feels like it's a part of an existing team, check out Partner Hero. Head over to partnerhero.com/Action Catalyst to book a free consultation with our solutions team. Mention you heard about Partner Hero from the Action Catalyst, and they'll even waive the setup fee. Now, on to the show.
Southwestern Family of Companies welcomes you to the Action Catalyst. Each week, our diversely and amazingly accomplished guests share their insights and inspirations to help us ignite our own. So let's invest attention together to breathe, to reflect and refocus, and decisively defeat that voice we call Mr. Mediocrity. Then let's enjoy moving forward to make a positive difference in our world.
Are you interested in advertising with the Action Catalyst? Our listeners could be hearing about your brand right here, right now. For details, shoot us an email at info@theactioncatalyst.com.
Welcome to the Action Catalyst. This is Dan Moore, your host. And today I am very, very excited because we have the opportunity to talk to Dr. Chip Bell. Dr. Chip has got an amazing background academically, but what's most important is how many great companies he has helped to dramatically enhance their bottom lines and their reputation through focusing on amazing and innovative customer service. I think we all know that today we have customers that, in Chip's words, are picky, fickle, and vocal. And so how to help guide customers or companies how to gain that loyalty. He's always been customer-centered, and we're going to find out some things from him about how he developed his career in those areas. He is one of the world's leading authorities on customer loyalty and innovative service. In fact, Global Gurus ranked him number 1 in North America in this fact and number 2 in the entire world. He's written more than 700 columns for business journals that all of us know, appeared on TV, radio, and in magazines such as Businessweek, Forbes, Fast Company, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Money Magazine, and Entrepreneur. In addition, he somehow found the time to author numerous best-selling books that are all about innovative service and some really creative topics as well. Sprinkles is one of the ones that I'm intrigued by. The title Sprinkles, Creating Awesome Experiences Through Innovative Service. Now, recently, Chip came out with his newest book, Kaleidoscope, on delivering innovative service that sparkles. It's going to be an award-winning book, as so many have, and the endorsers of his books, they're a who's who in the area of dealing with customers correctly, from Four Seasons, Zappos, Starbucks, Ritz-Carlton, Wolfgang Puck, Build-A-Bear, JetBlue, Marriott, on and on and on. He's also developed award-winning training programs, including Delivering Innovative Service, which won a 2016 Best Classroom Award by HR.com. It just goes on and on. So, Chip Bell, welcome so much to the Action Catalyst.
Thank you, Dan. I'm honored to be here. Good. Excited to be here. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, it will be fun. Well, academically, you've got degrees from University of Georgia, from Vanderbilt, and you have a PhD from George Washington University in organization behavior and HR development, and then went to work with Bank of America. What then transpired, instead of just staying in the big corporate world, to cause you to want to create your company that has done so much for so many?
Well, thank you so much. I guess number one was I felt like I needed more freedom than any major organization at that time could provide me. And I'll give you an interesting story that sort of was a turning point. Let's call it better, a tipping point. I was working on a major project, and I needed to not have the distraction of people coming in and out of your office all day long. And I told my direct report, my boss, I said, I'm going to stay home this morning. I'm 10 minutes from the bank, and I'm going to work on this so I can stay focused. And you know where I am? I'm 10 minutes away. And so he said, fine, I know where to get you. And about an hour that morning into my study, I got a call, and he said, you need to come in. I go, what's up with this? He said, well, the CEO came in and wanted to know where the hell you were. And I told him you were working at home. And he said, tell him to get in here. He's got to be in his office. So that was sort of and of course, that was back a lot of years ago when people were supposed to be in their office all day long. And so I realized then I needed a lot more freedom. And I wanted to follow my own passion. And also, it was an opportunity to grow. When you work with one organization, there is, by definition, a limit to how much you grow. When you work with a lot of organizations, you tend to learn a lot more. So that was important to me as well.
Mm-hmm. What do you think led you to this lifelong interest in providing innovative, amazing customer service and gaining customer loyalty, that particular niche, which is so critical?
What do organizations do to respond more effectively to the marketplace they serve? That was the culture that they created, was always an interest, and that's basically my academic pursuit was around all of that. But the whole interest in innovative service happened a number of years ago when I began to recognize customers today don't talk about, tweet about a good service. What they look for is it different? Is it unique? Is it unusual? And so the standards have been elevated to the point that just providing plain old ordinary good service is not enough. It may create great customer retention. You don't necessarily lose a customer, but it won't build a kind of advocacy where the customer's out there bragging about you and encouraging more people to come to your organization. So customer loyalty is a lot different than customer satisfaction or customer retention. And so I think most organizations care about, I want my customers to be my spokesperson out there. And so when they have a unique experience, particularly one that's profound, which we can talk about, that touches them in such a way that they're changed by it, then I think that's the whole realm of innovative service. And so it's looking for what I call creating experiences that are not just value added, but are value unique. It's not about making the customer go, wow. It's about making them go, whoa, I didn't expect that.
Uh-huh. So we've got to go beyond just what it takes to not lose a customer. We want them to go, wow, become advocates, spokesmen, vocal cheerleaders for what we do.
Absolutely. And they trust you more. They identify with your brand. I mean, there's a lot of great payoff when you have that kind of affinity that you have created through the experiences they have when they deal with you, not just the quality of the outcome or quality of the product.
Right.
It's all about the experience. I think that's the major differentiator in organizations, whether they're B2B or B2C, is what kind of relationship, what kind of experiences are you creating on top of providing a great quality product or service, an outcome at a fair price.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that you believe that can be actually the competitive advantage for a company.
Absolutely. I think you can. I think you can. And I think it can become the differentiator. There's research that shows customers will pay 15, 20% more for a great experience for the same product, same outcome. So we know it can be a differentiator, particularly when it's not just more than I expected, when it's different than I expected. And so here again, that's sort of the realm of providing innovative service, not just really, really good service. My good friend Matt Dixon wrote a great book about the effortless economy, in which he talks about, put your effort in effortless and don't worry about delighting the customer. But his research was all around things we did that exceed the customer's expectation. They upgrade you to first class. They upgrade your room to the concierge level. Those sort of additions that they provide, this takes customers' expectations and adds to them. And my work is not about that. My work is around is something that's more imaginative. It's about creating inventive service. And then behind that, how do you create a culture where your people who are interfacing with the customer every day have the authority and capacity to do that and create those kind of unexpected creative responses to them that create that story customers are eager to share.
Mm-hmm. Most organizations have some kind of a customer service function. But what you're talking about is really elevating the whole attitude of the entire organization, where it's not just people that receive those phone calls, but it's the point of sale, it's the person that is carrying the bags, it's the individual that is answering the phone, all the above, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's not just people who, as you say, are facing the customer facing people or customer interacting people. It's all everybody. If you look at the organizations renowned for great customer service, I'll take Ritz-Carlton as a good example because I've worked with them. The way they serve each other in the back of the house is a carbon copy of the way they serve their guests in the front of the house. And so it's creating that culture where everybody thinks and breathes and thinks about the customer. The old adage that's been around for a long time: if you're not serving customers, you're serving somebody who is. I think Carl Albrecht wrote that. Jan Carlson quoted it in one of their early books. But we're all about being customer centric, because as Sam Walton said, the customer can fire everybody from the chairman of the board down to the lowest level individual simply by spending their money somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And so I think creating organizations that are focused on the customer and, again, have the culture that drives that orientation.
Right. One of my former guests here was the retired CEO of Bridgestone Firestone, and they never use the word customer. They always use the word boss.
Yes, absolutely. And I've done a keynote for Bridgestone Firestone in Nashville, and down there at the Country Music Hall of Fame, down near you.
Yes, absolutely.
And I witnessed that. It's all about the boss, because they are the boss. And then the final analysis, they write your check.
Mm-hmm, completely true. Well, going back into your own personal business history a little bit more, how did you actually launch your business? You came from a big bank background. You had a lot of initials behind your name, but so many of our listeners are entrepreneurs that'd like to be entrepreneurs and launch their own. What were some of the early steps and lessons you learned, even some of the mistakes you made that can be?
Oh, yeah. Good. Well, I get asked that a lot, and about if I'm getting ready. Well, first of all, people come to me and say, I'm thinking about starting my business. And I usually say, go back and come back and talk to me when you say, I got to do this. You're just thinking about it. You're not ready. You're not ready. But I always tell people there are several things I think important that were helpful for me. One is I created a long lead time. I identified the fact that I wanted to have my own company 2 years before I did it. I started saving my money, made sure that once and my advice to them, if you looked at how much money you got when you start your business, if you got no money at all for the next 2 years, are you going to be okay? And so it's thinking about, one, I've got to have the kind of financial resource that gets me through that tough start. How much do you know your marketplace? I spent a lot of time getting to decide who I wanted to be, what was going to make me distinctive, what was going to set me apart, how was I going to be different than others in my business, who was going to be my target market, what they valued, what's important. So I think identifying some of those kind of areas early, going to school on your target market. I think creating your own board of directors, board of advisors that are people who know and things you need to know, they know more than you do about it. How do you put together a business plan? How do you put together a marketing plan? All of those things, I think, are key competencies I didn't have, but I was fortunate to have advisors and helpers along the way who had that expertise and were willing to share it with me. I think letting people know early in your launch that you plan to do this, and start networking very early, not the day you hang out your shingle. I think it starts with, what is it you love? What is it that is the source of your passion and interest? Because you're going to have to, if starting your own business, resilience is going to be key. And what drives your resilience and stick-to-itiveness is going to be, some calling that's driving your energy and the patience to go the distance. If you look at all of the folks who have been successful starting their own business, they'll probably tell you somewhere along the way, resilience, the ability to hang in there long enough because you believe so deeply in what you're about and what you can do and the contribution that you can make in the community that you serve. So I think it starts with that passion. I read recently a Warren Buffett interview where he was visiting Harvard, and some individual was going to pick him up and at the airport, and they're driving along. This is a Harvard B School student, and he was going to be presenting to the Harvard Business School class. And this kid was already starting to identify the companies he wanted to work for that he thought would look real good on his resume. And he said, Buffett said, well, what is it you love? Well, I can't worry about that right now. I got to pick a really good company I want to work for that'll make my resume look good. Someday, I'll get a chance to do what I want to do, what I love. And he said, it's to him, it's like waiting on sex until you get to be old age. That was his analogy. And so I thought that was a great example. Start with your passion, your energy, what you love, what gets you excited. And I think building an enterprise around that passion, to me, is number one. That is this going to make a difference? Is this going to fuel the resilience that you're going to need?
Right. What I hear you saying without you saying it, Chip, is that the desire to have a lot of money is insufficient reason.
Absolutely. That's to me, that shouldn't even be on your list. Making a lot of money is sort of a byproduct of one byproduct to success. But it doesn't communicate your purpose. Even organizations, Drucker told us years ago, the purpose of an organization is to create and retain a customer. The return on your investment is just the way you keep score. Making money. I mean, that's just one of the elements. I think there are far more things important than being. If you start out saying my goal is to make a lot of money, I don't think you're going to make. I don't really think you're going to make it because you won't go the distance because you're going to have a lot of disappointments. You're going to have a lot of, oh my God, am I going to be able to get through the month? And look at that. I don't have enough in the pipeline to get me past June or whatever. All of those things are going to come in, and if you're just all about money, you'll sell out. You'll make decisions that are not wise because you're focusing on what's going to make me money rather than what's going to create a presence in the marketplace that is laced with professionalism and integrity, and those things that are going to be features that will keep you going and give you staying power in terms of the longevity of your organization.
Mm-hmm. We use a phrase, when you look at a potential customer and you have dollar signs in your eyes, they will never become an actual customer.
Absolutely. Your customers need to know obviously they know you want to make a living and you want to make money. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but they want to feel like you're there for them and your commitment is to them. Your commitment, you're not there to lace your own, for your own business, you're there to serve. And so again, it's that core is how can I serve my customer in a way that makes a difference in their life, makes a difference in their bottom line, makes a difference in their reputation in the communities they serve.
Right. It's very instructive because you spoke a lot about resilience and there are always going to be setbacks. Can you share maybe a time or two when you were just moving right along and all of a sudden out of nowhere, a gigantic brick wall hit you and bent your nose and you just couldn't see around it, over it, or anything?
Yeah, how about 2008?
How about 2008?
How about 2000? I think there are certain times you have things in your, if you've built your business around a particular distinctiveness in the marketplace, what do you do when the interest in that goes away? You've got the best buggy whip in the marketplace, but nobody wants one anymore. I think and those things have happened to me where all of a sudden, there's not the desire for what you do. And I think what it requires is keeping loyal to your calling is that as an entrepreneur, you've got to be able to reinvent yourself constantly, not reinvent your values, not reinvent your core purpose, but reinvent its expression in the marketplace. And so that means customers are changing. You need to be able to adapt with it. And I think some of the mistakes that I have made in the past have been not seeing the trends quick enough to be able to say, oop, I got to zig and zag with this. And then you end up being victim of circumstances that are not within your, like a downturn in the economy. Where people go, well, I don't need a keynote speaker. We're just going to do it in-house or have some internal person because we can't afford it. Or, we don't need this consulting work. We'll just let somebody internally do it, or whatever happens to come your way that suddenly makes the perceived worth of what you do not what it used to be. And I think the ability to be able to zig and zag and adjust and adapt is a crucial commodity for any successful entrepreneur that goes the distance. I've been doing this 40 years, and believe me, if there's a mistake out there, I'm sure I've made it more than once. But I've tried to limit how many times I've made that mistake. I've tried to learn from it. Sometimes it takes a while, and you got to be hit on the head with it a few times. But I tried to be a student of the marketplace, a student of the customer, and try to translate that into my business and how it operates in a way that's successful. But I think there are many things that friends of mine have experienced, a death of a loved one that's changed your what you do and how you do it. There are any number of things, but I think here again, one aspect in addition to adaptability is the degree to which you have you've got a plan, a backup plan. You've got here again. That's why I hit that economic. What's in your bank account? Can you live 2 years without getting any more income? I don't think that's just something that's good when you start your business. I think it's good forever, because here again, there are going to be factors and features that are going to come your way that are going to knock you down economically, and you've got to say, I can still feed my family for a while till I get back on my feet and figure out what I need to do next.
Absolutely. Because if we don't have our powder kept dry, we can't use it when we really need it.
Absolutely.
And rely on it.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it, Dan.
Now, what about the sort of the inner part of that, though, Chip? In other words, what do you say to yourself? How do you coach yourself when you're in these moments? Because I heard what you said about have contingencies, have a plan B, know when to zig, when to zag. But when you're just rocked back on your heels, because all of us have been through that, a lot of our listeners are right there now, rocked back. Is there sort of a self-talk, self-coaching?
Yeah. I say God still loves me.
All right.
God still loves me. And I mean that literally and figuratively. The figurative side means is you aren't your work. You aren't your work. You are something that is grander and more amazing than your work. And so I try to, that's one thing I try to tell myself all the time. I also happen to be surrounded by loving friends and family who care about me unconditionally. And so the fact that I'm going through a time that's, quote, not successful from their standpoint, they still care about you. And I think surrounding yourself with people who think the world of you, who love you, I think is an important foundation for those tough times. But I say God still, I blew this, but God still loves me. I still love me. I'm still a good person. I'm still a person who cares about their purpose, and I'm not going to be wavered by that or wavered from that and distracted. I'm going to get back on that horse. That fall hurt. But I'm going to get back on that horse because that's why I'm here. That's my purpose in life. And so that's the kind of messages that I give. I'm by nature. I had great family upbringing that taught me that the importance of finding joy in your life and being optimistic and looking for turning every problem into an opportunity. And life gives you lemons. Though you say lemonade's in here somewhere. In fact, I think it's probably a margarita. But and so. That's, so that's the kind of thing I do. I keep trying to do that self-talk that says, what you're doing is worthwhile and you are worthwhile doing it. And so let's get back on that horse and get going again.
That is powerful information, Chip. And it's an encouragement to me personally, and I know it will be to so many of our listeners. It's the difference between saying I failed versus I am a failure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Keeps our self-esteem intact.
Absolutely.
So that's great.
Yeah.
Well, you talked about how you've been in this business for about 40 years and you were in banking for a long time and you were a student a long time. We never tell people's ages, but you're somebody that has been thriving and growing for decades and decades and decades. How do you avoid complacency and wanting to just coast and settle back and say, well, look what I've done?
Oh gosh, because what I've done is far less exciting than what I'm going to do. That's the honest truth. I've got a younger brother who retired years ago, and he keeps telling me, he says he's a big avid hunter, and he said, "When you going to retire?" And I go, "When you going to quit hunting?" And he goes, "Well," and then he'll say, "Well, you got plenty of money." And I say, "Well, you got a freezer full of venison, and you still go deer hunting." And so, to me, the point is, I do what I love, and I can't imagine not doing it. And if God gives me the capacity, mental and physical capacity to keep doing what I love, I'm gonna keep going forward and growing, trying to grow and trying to make a difference in what I do. To me, that excites me. I can't wait to get up in the morning every day and get going on what I'm here for. And so the idea of saying, my wife's is a professor at university, and we're same age, and people say, they ask her sometimes. She said, "When are you going to retire?" And she says, "I looked that word up in the dictionary, and it means to go to bed, and I'm not sleepy." And so I think that's kind of a fun way to look at it. And I know people who retire, and God bless them. I think that's wonderful if that's important to them, and they get. But what I find, most people get to retire, and when I talk to them about it, they go, "And now I get to do what I love, like play golf or hunt or whatever they like to do." Well, I'm not retired because I keep doing what I love. And
Right.
so, it's if you keep growing, then that's a different. I had a great friend of mine, Malcolm Knowles, who was renowned in the field, and he said he did a research one time that looked at people who live 10 years past 65 and people who died within 10 years of retiring at 65, and to try to find what the difference is between those who didn't make it to 75 after retiring at 65 and those who did. And what he found was kind of stunning. And he said the difference was fundamentally the ones who kept living never stopped growing.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Dylan, the great folk singer, said, "If you aren't busy living, you're busy dying." And so to me, it's all about continual growth and continuing to do while you're here.
Right. He also sang about moving on from setbacks when he said, "Don't think twice. It's all right."
It's all right. Absolutely. One of my favorite songs.
Well, I think that's great. What a fantastic thing to say, Chip. What I've done is far less exciting than what I'm going to do.
That's the way I feel every day.
Well, I think it's fantastic. Just being around you through this medium of video here, I feel uplifted and encouraged and full of energy. What would you say to somebody that is completely out of aces? They've done all they can. They don't have that nest egg. They're just flat on the ground. What do you try to teach or counsel one who is just completely discouraged?
Well, I start with, and I'm going to be repetitive here. I start by asking, the Fred Hertzberg question. Mm-hmm. You remember Fred Hertzberg and his study that led to the motivational work and his motivation hygiene theory, but it all started
right?
Yeah. He talked to engineers and he said, when you really, really feel good about your work, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. What's happening around you? And I think questions like that may help people to say, well, look at your day, look at your week, look at your month. Were there moments when you felt really good or moments when you felt a sense of joy? And what was that all about? What were the features of that? And how can you rekindle that? And how can you pursue that in the work that you do? And I think, to me, starting with a happy place is an easier place from which to build than starting with the dark side. We all tend to want to move toward the light, and I think that's true of somebody who's down and out. The other thing I try to advise people who are just like you described, they don't know where they're going to go from there, is to rekindle their connection with people who can give you hope and encouragement and support. A lot of times when I find people who are down like that, they've been listening to the wrong people. They've been listening to people who tell them, how essentially useless they are and how they're a failure or whatever messages they're getting. They're dark messages rather than happy, positive messages. And I say, look at your friends and say, am I with people who can lift me up or people who kind of bring me down? So a lot of times your environment can shape a lot of your next turn, I think. And so those are two things I'd recommend.
Oh, I think that's fantastic. So find even the faintest spark, which is always brighter than dark.
Yeah.
Fan that and do that by being with people that bring out the best in you and stop listening to the people that just make you feel bad.
Absolutely. It takes two flints to start a fire, So finding people who can work with you with that other piece of flint to start that fire inside you is always a good one.
Oh, I think that's absolutely awesome. Chip, this is amazing. Time with you goes really, really fast, my friend.
Thanks. Thanks. I appreciate that, Dan.
Well, we're looking forward to not only sharing this with our many listeners, but also watching you continue to impact people and keep us all remembering it's about that extraordinary extra push, that extra value, that unexpected wow that creates loyalty, excitement, and turns every single customer into a promoter.
Absolutely. If you could live every day like a box of Cracker Jacks, think about it. We love Cracker Jacks, and it wasn't the popcorn. It wasn't that cool box.
It was a prize.
It was a prize, something that was financially worthless but emotionally priceless because we didn't know what that prize was going to be. We knew there was one in there. And to me, that's kind of a metaphor for life. There's going to be a prize inside if I look, and I'm going to be surprised by it. Life is an adventure.
I'd like to share a little surprising customer loyalty story about Cracker Jacks that happened when I was 5 years old. My dad bought a box of Cracker Jacks for my brother and I, and we opened it up immediately looking for the prize, and something went wrong in quality control. And in this particular box, there was no prize.
Oh, my goodness.
When you're 5 and 6 and you got big tears in your eyes, it's crushing.
It's crushing.
my father got out a device that you can only find in a museum now called a typewriter. And he wrote a letter to Cracker Jack, and he said, right, I certify there was no prize in there, and you just should know about it so you can improve your processes. Well, about 2 weeks later, a big box arrived, and it had every single prize Cracker Jack offered with an apology note.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? That's why that company's been around 100 years.
That's exactly right. So I think we can all look for those little ways to do things, and right, you've inspired us to remember that.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed being with you.
If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. To stay updated on everything that the Action Catalyst is up to, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst Podcast and Twitter at Catalyst_Action. Thanks for listening.